Welcome to Charette Theory. Today, we're going to explore this world together. We'll unlock the secrets that make a southwestern kitchen not just practical, but poetic, how it invites the desert in, yet protects you from its fiercest moments. We'll see how sun, shade, texture, and color work together to tell a story of resilience and warmth. So settle in with me now. Let's step deeper inside. Let's learn how to shape a space that holds the desert's heat and transforms it into calm, enduring comfort. This is Secrets of Southwestern Warmth. And this is where we begin. Take a moment to pause whatever you're doing and imagine this with me. You're standing at the threshold of a desert afternoon, where the sun hangs high and unrelenting above a vast, open landscape. The ground beneath your feet is warm, dry earth that's been kissed by the sun for centuries. All around you, the colors shift in subtle layers: pale beige sands, rusty red rocks, soft hints of sage green clinging stubbornly to life. You feel the heat on your skin, not oppressive, but honest, ancient, a reminder that the desert doesn't hide its nature. The sky is a brilliant, endless blue, and the air tastes faintly of dust and stone. Out here, everything feels exposed, raw and true. But then you turn toward a modest structure. Its adobe walls stand firm against the sun, thick and time-worn. A weathered wooden door, sun-bleached and cracked in places, waits slightly ajar as if inviting you to step inside. With a gentle push, you cross the threshold. And immediately, the world changes. Inside, you find a hush, a subtle drop in temperature, a soft breath of coolness trapped within walls that have learned how to hold the desert at bay. Light filters through small, well-placed windows, dancing across rough plaster walls, catching in the corners where shadows linger. Under your feet, terracotta tiles hold the memory of the sun, warm but not scorching, grounding you, reminding you that here, you are connected to the earth itself. This is a kitchen, but it feels like something more, a sanctuary carved from clay and timber, designed not just to feed the body, but to soothe it. There's a quiet rhythm here, the sturdy beams overhead, the soft curves of hand-mold tiles, the muted palette that seems to echo the landscape just beyond the door. And yet, it's not silent. A gentle creak of wood as a breeze slips through a crack. The faint sound of your own breath, slower now, because here, the heat isn't an enemy, it's part of the story. In this space, centuries of desert living reveal themselves in subtle choices: thick walls that trap cool air, earthy materials that age gracefully under relentless sun, handcrafted details that speak of patience and care. It's a lesson in how to work with the climate rather than fight it, how to embrace what the land gives and turn it into something beautiful and comforting. Terracotta, baked earth, is at the heart of it all. These humble clay tiles and pots, so simple yet so powerful, have grounded generations of homes across arid lands. Step on them barefoot and feel their quiet promise: warmth when you need it, coolness when you crave relief. This isn't about chasing trends or recreating someone else's style. It's about understanding a timeless wisdom, the art of shaping a home that honors its place, its climate, its past, and its people. It's about bringing the spirit of the sun and the earth into your daily life in a way that feels rooted, honest, and deeply human. Step deeper into this sunbaked kitchen and you begin to feel how Southwestern design is not simply a look, it's a way of living that grew from centuries of adaptation, resilience, and quiet reverence for the land. Here, every wall, beam, and tile carries whispers of influence from cultures that have called the desert home. Long before this space took shape, native peoples learned how to build thick adobe shelters that breathed with the climate, keeping scorching days out and cool nights in. Spanish settlers brought new forms and colors, carving graceful arches into doorways, painting tiles by hand, and crafting heavy wooden doors that stood firm against the desert wind. Mexican artisans infused vibrant color and decorative flair, reminding every room that life here is harsh but also full of celebration and spirit. Look around this kitchen. Above you, thick wooden vigas span the ceiling, great beams hewn from local timber, rough to the touch, bearing the marks of age and weather. Between them, lighter latillas or planks rest in simple, repeating lines, reminding you that beauty often comes from what's necessary, not what's decorative. The walls are never flat or perfect. Instead, they're layered with rough plaster, finished by hand, trowel strokes left visible like brush marks on a canvas. This subtle texture plays with the changing light. Morning shadows drift softly across the uneven surface. By afternoon, golden beams highlight every bump and wave. It's a reminder that here, imperfection is not a flaw, it's a sign of care and craftsmanship. And then there's the palette, grounded, quiet, yet warm. Outside, the desert can be brutal and bright, but inside these walls, colors soothe the eye: a muted clay, sun-faded earth, the softest whites. Occasionally, a flash of color appears: a cobalt blue window frame, a patterned tolliver tile around the cooking hearth, a painted pottery jug holding wildflowers from the dusty roadside. These details root the space in its place. You feel the influence of Mexican folk art, indigenous pottery, Spanish ironwork, all mingled together like the desert winds themselves. Southwestern design is practical, yes, but it's also emotional. It teaches you that shelter doesn't have to shut out the landscape, it can embrace it. The adobe walls, thick and patient, keep you cool when the sun is at its fiercest. The wide, shaded thresholds blur the line between indoors and out. An open door welcomes a breeze that drifts past shelves lined with clay pots and woven baskets, each carrying the quiet energy of the land that shaped them. What's missing here is just as important as what's present. There's no unnecessary clutter, no empty ornament for its own sake. A single wooden table sits in the center of the room, sturdy and worn. Hand-forged iron hooks hold everyday tools within easy reach. A simple earthenware jug, a bright woven runner on a bench, these small touches feel intentional, never forced. This is the soul of Southwestern design, a patient, grounded warmth that wraps around you like an old blanket on a desert night. It's an invitation to slow down and notice things: the grain in a weathered plank, the softness of sunlight slipping through a clay-framed window, the quiet pride in a handmade tile. When you design your kitchen this way, you're not just decorating, you're preserving a way of living that honors what the desert teaches, that life is harsh, but beauty and comfort are possible if you build with care, patience, and deep respect for the land beneath your feet. If there's one material that holds the true spirit of a southwestern kitchen, it's terracotta. Its name alone, baked earth, reminds us that it comes straight from the ground beneath our feet, shaped by human hands, hardened by fire, and mellowed by time. To understand terracotta's quiet power, you only have to step barefoot across a sunlit floor of handmade tiles. In the early morning, they feel cool and reassuring, a welcome contrast to the warmth that will come as the sun climbs higher. By afternoon, they hold the memory of the sun, just enough to remind you that the desert's warmth is not something to fear but something to live with gently. Terracotta has been here for centuries, in clay pots carried from riverbanks, in the sun-dried bricks that built ancient pueblos and mission walls, in humble cooking vessels passed down through generations. It's a material born of necessity. Clay is abundant, forgiving, and practical. But in the hands of skilled makers, it becomes something more than functional. It becomes beautiful in its simplicity. Look closer at a single terracotta tile. No two are ever quite alike. One may be deeper in rust, another paler, kissed with the faintest blush of pink or orange. The edges might be slightly uneven. A small chip in the corner might catch the light just so. All of this is proof that your kitchen is alive, that it's not frozen in some glossy perfection, but shaped by real life, by real people. In the kitchen, terracotta appears everywhere if you let it. It's under your feet in wide, sun-baked tiles that cool you in summer and radiate stored heat when the evenings grow cold. It lines the backsplash behind your sink or stove, its gentle hue softening the glare of steel pots and daily chores. It appears in pots and bowls that hold water, grains, spices, each vessel a small reminder that food, family, and earth are always connected. And terracotta's beauty grows deeper with time. Unlike polished stone or cold ceramic, it welcomes small marks and stains. Each scratch tells you this kitchen is used and loved, that meals have been prepared here, that feet have crossed these floors at dawn and dusk, that laughter and conversation have settled into its warm, porous surface. Over decades, terracotta tiles deepen in color, mellowing from bright clay to soft, burnished tones that feel as warm as memory itself. Yet beyond its poetry, terracotta is supremely practical, and this is why it has endured. It holds temperature well, helping to moderate the intense heat that deserts deliver. In regions where midday sun can be merciless, terracotta floors stay cool and inviting. In the chill of desert evenings, they release the warmth they gathered all day long, creating a sense of gentle balance that connects you to nature's rhythms. Terracotta also asks little in return. It needs no harsh chemicals, no fancy polishes. Just an occasional sweep, a bit of water, a simple respect for its nature. It reminds you that sometimes, the simplest things are the most enduring. When you design a southwestern kitchen, terracotta is not just a material, it's a bridge between the land and the life inside your walls. It ties you back to an ancient lineage of builders and cooks, families and communities who understood that the desert gives what you need if you know how to listen. So when you run your hand across a sun-warmed tile or feel the weight of a clay pot resting on an old wooden shelf, remember, you're touching earth, shaped and fired, carrying the sun's heat into your home in the most honest way possible. That is the quiet promise of terracotta, and it's what makes a southwestern kitchen feel truly alive. Once you've felt the warmth of terracotta underfoot and traced your fingers across its gentle imperfections, the next secret to a truly southwestern kitchen lies in how you build the colors around it. A desert kitchen doesn't just copy the landscape, it channels its quiet poetry. Out there, the colors shift constantly under the sun. What looks harsh and bright at noon softens into dusky rose and deep rust by evening. Earth, sky, stone, all blend together in a palette that feels alive, changing with every hour. To bring this subtle, layered warmth indoors, start with terracotta's heart, those deep clay reds and sun-baked oranges. These are your anchor, echoing the canyon walls, the ancient cliffs, the dusty roads that stretch beyond sight. But terracotta alone can be too heavy if not balanced with care. So look to the desert's softer side for relief. Picture soft sand under your feet, pale beige that feels almost weightless under the midday sun. Think of bleached driftwood washed smooth by wind and time, the delicate ivory of wild desert blooms clinging to cracks in dry stone. These neutral tones create breathing room around the warmth, letting your eye rest and your mind relax. Then come the accents, the unexpected sparks of color that lift everything and remind you the desert is never just one note. A wash of sage green, whispering of hardy shrubs and scrappy cacti that push up through cracked rock. Faded turquoise, like a distant desert sky or the jewelry stones passed from hand to hand across generations. Sometimes a hint of deep indigo appears, a nod to shadows pooling under an adobe archway at dusk. The magic is in the balance. Too much warmth without relief can make a space feel oppressive, like standing outside at high noon with no shade. Too many pale surfaces without earth tones can feel cold, disconnected from the rugged land outside. But when the balance is right, your kitchen becomes an echo of the desert's rhythm, warm and grounding, yet open and calm. Consider how the colors play with the light. Morning sun filtering through a small window might wash your plaster walls in soft gold, making pale tones almost glow. By late afternoon, the same light deepens terracotta tiles, bringing out hidden richness in their clay. In the evening, when lamps flicker on, shadows dance across textured plaster, making warm colors feel even more inviting. And remember, color is not just paint on a wall. It's woven into textiles draped over benches, stitched into cushions, glazed onto pottery. It lives in hand-painted tiles arranged behind a sink, in bright clay pots that hold fresh herbs on a sunny ledge. It's in the woven rug that softens a cool floor or the faded runner that catches crumbs beneath a rustic table. When you gather these colors, dusty reds, sandy beiges, quiet greens, and soft blues, you're not decorating for decoration's sake. You're telling the story of the desert's palette. A story of warmth, endurance, and the comfort found in sun and shade dancing together. So take your time choosing them. Hold clay swatches in your hand, compare them under morning and afternoon light. Let them remind you of canyon trails, sunlit adobe villages, weathered wood doors cracked open to a breeze that smells of warm earth. If your palette feels like stepping barefoot onto a sun-baked patio or standing under the broad shade of an ancient mesquite, then you'll know you've found it. In a true southwestern kitchen, the colors never clash. They blend and fade into each other like the soft layers of distant hills at sunset, warm, gentle, and timeless. If color brings the desert indoors, then texture is what makes it feel real, tangible, grounding, alive. In a true Southwestern kitchen, texture is everywhere you look and everywhere you reach. It invites your hands to wander across surfaces, to feel the story written into every bump, grain, and groove. Start with the walls. They're never cold or glossy. Instead, they wear a coat of rough, hand-troweled plaster that shows its human touch. Look closely, you'll see faint ridges, sweeping arcs where a craftsman's hand passed decades ago. As the sun drifts through the day, shadows play in these tiny valleys and peaks, shifting constantly, reminding you that stillness is never quite still. Overhead, the ceiling carries the desert's old soul in heavy timber beiges, beams cut thick and left raw. Between them, smaller latillas or planks run crosswise, forming simple yet beautiful patterns that have sheltered generations from blazing sun and sudden monsoon storms alike. They creak softly as the house settles, a quiet reminder that this space breathes with the weather outside. Beneath your feet, the story continues. Saltillo tiles, wide, sun-fired squares of terracotta, sprawl across the floor. Their surface is never perfectly flat, instead, it dips and humps gently, catching light at odd angles. Tiny chips and scratches are not flaws but memories, footsteps of bare feet in the morning, chairs dragged softly back after a long meal, the cool press of clay underfoot on a blazing afternoon. Open shelving made from sturdy, knotty pine or reclaimed wood lines the walls. The planks are imperfect, edges softened by years of touch and use. On them sit everyday things that double as decoration, stacks of ceramic bowls, woven baskets for fresh produce, clay pots that once might have held water drawn from a distant well. And then there is iron, dark, matte, quietly strong. Cabinet pulls forged by hand, hinges that squeak a little when opened, iron racks overhead for hanging heavy copper pots and skillets. A wrought iron chandelier might cast its soft glow across the ceiling beams in the evening, its shadows dancing gently on plastered walls. Here, metal isn't cold or sterile, it's shaped with care, meant to last a lifetime and more. Don't forget stone. Sometimes you'll find a countertop made from rough-edged granite or a worn flagstone threshold marking where the kitchen meets a shaded courtyard outside. These materials, like clay and timber, tie the kitchen back to the land. They age well, wearing each scuff and scratch as a badge of life lived fully. Even soft materials carry texture in this space. A thick wool runner softens the hardness of the floor near the sink, woven with patterns that echo indigenous designs passed down through generations. Hand-loomed cotton cloths drape across the sturdy table, inviting you to gather for meals that last deep into warm desert evenings. What makes all these textures special is not just how they feel but how they work together. Each one complements the other, rough next to smooth, warm next to cool. Together they create a kitchen that doesn't feel staged or fragile but welcoming, forgiving, durable. This is why a Southwestern kitchen stays beautiful long after the first tile is laid. The more you use it, the more your feet scuff the floors, your hands brush the beams, your family gathers around the same solid table, the more it settles into itself, becoming not just a kitchen but a living, breathing part of the home. Texture here isn't a trend, it's the timeless signature of a life rooted in the rhythms of the land, simple, sturdy, and touched always by human hands. A southwestern kitchen does more than look beautiful, it works beautifully, too. Here in the desert, function and design have always gone hand in hand, shaped by a climate that demands both respect and creativity. A well-planned layout can make the difference between a kitchen that feels stifling on a blistering day and one that welcomes you with open arms, no matter how high the sun climbs. Step inside a traditional desert kitchen and you'll notice one thing immediately: it breathes. Thick adobe or stone walls wrap the space in a cocoon of calm, their natural mass absorbing the sun's heat during the day and releasing it slowly when the night turns cool. But it's not just the walls that do the work, it's how the whole room is arranged to invite in air and shelter you from the harshest rays. Start with the heart of the space. In a southwestern kitchen, you often find a generous, open core, a place for gathering as much as for cooking. There's room for a sturdy central table, a wide island carved from solid wood, maybe a bench tucked under a window where you can sit and peel vegetables while watching the sky burn pink at dusk. This open flow lets air drift easily, carrying the desert breeze from one side of the house to the other. Windows are not an afterthought, they are vital. Placed high or deep set to shield the harshest sun, they are often small enough to prevent glare yet wide enough to pull in light and fresh air. When you open a wooden shutter or push a heavy door wide, you invite the outdoors in, letting the wind move through the kitchen, carrying away heat and bringing in a faint hint of sage or sun-worn dust. Consider the placement of heavy cabinetry. In many old southwestern kitchens, you'll see more open shelves than bulky upper cabinets. Why? Shelves keep the space airy, letting the walls breathe and light bounce freely. They make practical sense, too. Everyday dishes and pots are within easy reach, no doors to swing and block your movement in a tight corner. Floor plans tend to be generous and connected to other living spaces. A wide archway might open the kitchen to a shaded dining patio outside. French doors could swing out to a garden, where herbs grow in clay pots and a rough wooden table waits for an early dinner under the fading sun. This seamless link between indoors and outdoors is more than a luxury, it's how generations stayed cool before modern air conditioning. Air flows in and out, heat never lingers too long. Cooking and prep zones are arranged with a quiet logic that honors the daily rhythm of desert life. Heavy cooking happens near good ventilation, a wide hearth or range hood that pulls warm air away from where you stand. Counters are spacious and sturdy, often stone or tiled, designed to handle heavy clay pots, baskets of fresh produce, or the occasional chilled drink pressed against a hot forehead. Even storage tells a story of adaptation. Deep drawers and cool pantries are built into thick walls, naturally insulated to keep dry goods fresh despite the fierce heat outside. A niche carved into an adobe wall might hold jars of dried chilies, beans, spices, a small, shaded cave of flavor waiting patiently in the dimness. All these choices, open pathways, cross-ventilation, shaded corners, create a kitchen that doesn't fight the heat but works with it. Instead of sealing you away, the space becomes a refuge that celebrates the desert's gifts while softening its extremes. When you stand at the heart of such a kitchen, a gentle breeze slipping past your shoulders as you stir a pot or wash fresh herbs, you understand that good design here is not about shutting the world out. It's about living lightly within it, shaping a space that feels timeless, welcoming, and always aware of the sun's journey overhead. A southwestern kitchen finds its true warmth not just in walls and floors but in the smallest details, the touches that tell you this isn't just a showpiece but a living, breathing part of daily life. Look around any authentic desert kitchen and you'll see it. The story is told in the things you can pick up, sit on, lean against. These pieces hold memory and meaning, carrying the spirit of the land and the people who shaped it. Start with the furniture. There's nothing delicate or overly polished here. A heavy wooden table, scarred by time and many meals, sits at the heart of the space like an anchor. The wood is thick, the legs sturdy, the edges softened by countless elbows, children's hands, warm plates set down with care. Surround it with benches or simple ladderback chairs, pieces that feel like they've always been here, sturdy enough to withstand sandy boots and restless dogs sleeping underneath. Look to the corners. Maybe there's a built-in banquette, covered in cushions stitched with bold patterns drawn from indigenous weaving traditions. These cushions don't just soften the seat, they add a dash of color, echoing the warm reds, soft blues, and gentle creams found outside in desert canyons and endless skies. On the walls, open shelves hold everyday treasures. Stacks of hand-painted plates, mugs glazed in warm earth tones, clay pots with tiny imperfections that make each one unique. Maybe there's a row of bright olive bowls, ready for salsa or fruit picked fresh from a dusty garden. None of it feels staged, these are things used daily, loved into their best shape over time. Pots of herbs might sit by a sunlit window, sage, oregano, maybe a trailing vine of rosemary that drinks in the light and reminds you that even in the desert, life clings to every scrap of shade and water it can find. A woven basket filled with onions, garlic, and chilies might rest within easy reach, its rough weave a quiet nod to hands that still craft what machines never could. Lighting here matters more than you might expect. When the fierce desert sun sinks low, you want a glow that feels warm, not harsh. Iron fixtures, hammered and forged by hand, hang low over the table or island. Maybe a wrought iron chandelier throws shadows that dance on rough plaster walls. Small sconces tucked into niches cast pools of golden light, gentle enough to soften terracotta floors and rough beams, bright enough to let the kitchen hum with quiet activity well past sunset. And then come the textiles, the soft layers that temper hard tile and sun-baked surfaces. A thick wool rug in muted desert colors stretches beneath the table, warming your feet on cool nights. Woven runners drape across counters or shelves, bright splashes of color that remind you this is a place for living, not just looking. Art shows up in subtle ways. Maybe a clay sun symbol above a doorway, a hand-painted tile mural tucked behind the stove, a vintage desert landscape hanging slightly crooked on a whitewashed wall. Nothing too precious, just enough to say this kitchen belongs to a family, to a home with history and open doors. Even practical things become part of the story. Heavy iron hooks hold cast iron pans within easy reach. A battered wooden bowl sits ready for fresh fruit or bread dough resting under a cloth. Terracotta pitchers catch and hold the last light of the day when set on an old wooden shelf. And here's the secret, none of these details try too hard. They don't shout for attention or feel forced. They simply belong, chosen slowly, kept because they're useful, treasured because they remind you of a place where the desert's rawness meets human warmth. When all these details come together, rough wood, soft rugs, bright ceramics, woven baskets, hand-forged iron, your southwestern kitchen stops being just a shelter from the sun. It becomes a place that holds memories in every corner, laughter echoing under heavy beams, the hush of early mornings on cool tiles, the soft hum of voices lingering over a table long after the desert sky goes dark. That's what brings Southwestern Warmth fully to life, not just the big ideas, but the smallest touches that say welcome home. A southwestern kitchen is rooted deeply in tradition, earth, sun, clay, and time-tested ways of living in harmony with the land. But tradition doesn't mean you can't adapt. In fact, what makes the southwestern style so enduring is how easily it welcomes subtle, thoughtful change. Today, many homeowners want the timeless warmth of Adobe and terracotta, but with the ease and function of modern living. The secret is knowing which elements to honor exactly as they've always been, and where to weave in fresh ideas that make daily life smoother, more connected to how we live now. Take the classic open shelving and solid wood counters, beautiful, practical, and honest. But today's kitchens might blend these with sleek, hidden storage for small appliances, or soft close drawers that keep the clutter down on quiet mornings. You might see custom cabinetry finished in a warm, distressed wash that looks hand-painted by the sun itself. Yet inside, it's designed with modern organizers that make pulling out spices or stacking heavy pans effortless. Lighting, too, has taken on a softer, more thoughtful edge. While traditional iron chandeliers and rustic sconces still hold pride of place, many kitchens now blend them with discreet, energy-efficient LEDs tucked under shelves or along beams, giving you warmth when you need it, and saving energy when you don't. These tiny touches make your kitchen feel both rooted in the old ways and fully ready for the pace of today. Appliances are where modern life really shows its face, but even here, the balance can be beautiful. Picture a stainless steel range or fridge framed by hand-painted tiles and warm wooden cabinetry. The contrast doesn't clash, instead, it makes both stand out. Copper range hoods are a favorite update, their burnished surface catching the light just like terracotta tiles underfoot, blending the raw heat of the desert with a hint of contemporary polish. Even floors can evolve. Classic saltillo or handmade terracotta tiles still dominate, but some homeowners opt for radiant heat beneath them, a hidden comfort that takes the chill off cool desert mornings without spoiling the rustic look. Or you might see reclaimed wood planks laid alongside clay tiles, a nod to sustainability and the old ranch homes that once dotted the Southwest. Open layouts are another modern touch. While the old kitchens were often small, cozy rooms branching off from courtyards, today's desert homes lean into wide, flowing spaces that connect kitchen, dining, and living areas in one warm, sunlit sweep. The effect is not just about style, it's about keeping families together, letting the scent of simmering stews drift into conversation by the hearth, or out through open doors onto a shaded patio. And what about the patio itself? Many modern southwestern kitchens blur that line even further, folding glass doors that slide away completely, letting you step from terracotta tiles onto stone pavers under a pergola dripping with flowering vines. Outdoor kitchens echo indoor warmth with clay ovens, built-in grills, and rustic counters that invite you to cook under the wide desert sky. Materials evolve too. Alongside classic plaster and clay, you'll find polished concrete countertops, smooth but warm under your hands, or recycled glass tiles that catch desert light in unexpected ways. Sustainability has become part of the new southwestern spirit, honoring the old wisdom of living lightly on the land by choosing materials that tread gently, last long, and feel right under sun and shadow alike. It's all about contrast and respect. A modern southwestern kitchen isn't afraid of clean lines or new technologies, but it never forgets that its heart is made of earth, sun, and stories. Every new twist, every fresh material or sleek appliance should feel like it's here to support that story, not overwrite it. Done well, these modern touches don't weaken the soul of the desert kitchen, they strengthen it, proving that this warm, welcoming style can stretch and grow while staying true to its roots. And so we come to the quiet close of this journey, standing once more at the heart of a kitchen that's more than just walls and tiles and beams. It's a living reminder that when we build with care, when we choose materials that speak of the land and shape our spaces with patience, we create more than shelter. We create belonging. A southwestern kitchen teaches us this every day. It tells us that the sun's fierce heat can become an ally when we understand it. That clay pulled from the ground can hold warmth and memory under our feet for decades. That rough timber beams overhead can remind us of hands that shaped them long before we walked these floors. It shows us that beauty is not found in cold perfection, but in the imperfections that gather slowly with life, the scuff of a boot on terracotta, the patina on a copper pot left warming by the fire, the faded cushion on a bench where a grandparent sat telling stories while bread rose on the counter. To live with southwestern warmth is to live in tune with the land, to welcome its extremes and soften them with old wisdom and small comforts. It's to open the door wide on a hot afternoon and let the breeze wander through heavy beams and plastered walls, carrying with it the hush of distant hills and the promise of cooler nights. When you step into such a kitchen, whether in a humble Adobe home, a sprawling desert ranch, or a new house that honors the old ways, you're reminded that design at its best does not fight nature but folds it gently into daily life. And that even in a world of polished trends and fleeting fashions, there is timeless peace in things made with earth, sun, and human hands. So as you dream of your own desert kitchen, whether you live under a blazing southwestern sky or simply wish to borrow a little of its honest warmth, remember, it starts with simple things. Terracotta underfoot. Rough beams overhead. Open doors and open shelves. Colors drawn from canyon walls and desert skies. Textures that ask you to touch, to notice, to slow down. When you gather these pieces with intention, a clay pot here, a hand-woven rug there, a sturdy wooden table at the center, you build more than a room. You build a refuge that hums with stories, echoes with laughter, and holds the sun's heat like a quiet promise through the longest desert afternoon. This is Secrets of Southwestern Warmth, the gift of living lightly with what the land gives, shaping it into comfort, and sharing it with the people you love most. Thank you for spending this time here with me at Charette Theory. May your own kitchen, wherever it is, hold a bit of this sunbaked peace, and may you always feel at home in its warmth.